You talk about mindset. The thing I see, and I'm sure you guys have encountered this, is a lot of people, they just have so much anxiety about this is going to replace me. I think about that a lot. So Lisa and I have put our fortune back at risk to build this company. And you've said this a lot. I've said this a lot. Skate to where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is. The problem is right now it feels like the puck is teleporting. And
I like
so
that.
it becomes very difficult to know where that puck is actually going to be.
Yeah.
So how do you guys think about that? And you guys talk in your book about the fact that the average company used to be on the S&P 500 for like 67 years. It's
Yeah.
down to 15. We're expecting it to just keep dropping. So how do we not just get disrupted 7 minutes after we figure out how to use AI?
Well, I think there's a few different things going on here. The first is you should talk about the asteroid analogy,
Yeah.
because I think that sets the framing for what's actually happening here.
I view what's going on in the business world today similar to the 20-kilometer asteroid that struck the Earth 65 million years ago and wiped out the dinosaurs, right? The asteroid changed the environment of Earth so rapidly, so dramatically, that the slow lumbering dinosaurs who didn't adapt went extinct. And it was the furry little mammals, our ancestors, that were agile enough to adapt that survived and thrived. So the asteroids striking Earth right now are exponential technologies with AI as the overlord there. And it's just going to change the environment so rapidly that you need agility. You need a team that is agile. One of the things I would say is also, what do you own that is unique? Whether it's characters in Disney's characters that they own versus having a movie distribution system. What do you have that's uniquely yours? What data do you have? What processes do you have? What assets do you have? That as the tech changes, you can take that data and those assets and put it through the new tech.
This is my hypothesis. Let me know what you think about this.
Please.
So AI is going to generate a ton of noise. So even as you were saying, like, hey, I'm an HR person, how do I do this? Or how do I make this email better? Everybody's going to have access to that same thing.
Absolutely.
And that lead Google memo about AI has no moat and AI has no moat. And so we're all going to be able to use this. And so as somebody making a video game and somebody thinking about IP, the real thing you have to get good at is getting people to care. And so it's that Disney has gotten people to care about their characters. So when you think about AI making the creation of art instantaneous, because
Yes.
a big part of what made art cool before was the sense of I couldn't do that. And so when somebody presents you with something that you couldn't do, you're like, whoa, that's so cool. And you have this like really emotional response. Now I'm like, I could do that. Or I might even be able to do something
my kid can do
better
that.
than that, right? So now it's like when I see just a wall of AI art, my brain still goes to the characters I care about.
Right.
So my thing is, in a world where we are going to get disrupted incredibly fast, in a world where now the game really is about making people care, how do people break through the noise? And maybe even more specifically, how do you stay emotionally sober long enough to try to break through the noise?
So this goes straight to the first and most important characteristic of an EXO, which is the massive transformative purpose, right? When you pick a problem that you are deeply passionate about, say curing cancer, you put all your emotional energy into that. Peter talks about the emotional connection that gets created. No matter what the tool set is or what the capabilities are, your emotional connection to that and the passion you bring to it is the thing that will separate you out from everybody else. Because somebody else has to come at it with exactly enough the same passion and have access to the same tools. And that's what will win out. That'll be the steadying ship for how do you navigate this chaotic world, is what fundamental problem do I get excited about? And I'm just going to go after that problem and stick with it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Tom. The idea of an exponential org, what we lay out is the number one thing that a entrepreneur or a more advanced company needs to do is establish that MTP, that massive transformative purpose. And once that's established, then there's a whole slew of 10 different attributes that allow you to scale and allow you to build something. But in a world where there's this abundance of opportunity, right, where we're drowning in opportunity and your attention is your most important asset here that you're going to gift a company, being connected to that company's MTP, right? So, when Elon gets up on stage and says, we're going to build a multiplanetary species, we're going to Mars, we're going to help save the human race and so forth, people connect in their heart and their mind to that. If some company stands up and says, we're going to provide better shareholder returns, I mean, it's just noise.
This is two big challenges big companies have. First, they're not passion driven in the same way some of the new breed of organizations is. They don't have an MTP, for example. In fact, the way this came about was when we first put the original version of the book together in 2014, we scanned 200 unicorns and said, how are they doing it? How are they scaling so fast? So the EXO model is not something we invented. We labeled kind of what was already happening and put a framework around it. And without exception, every single one of these companies that was moving very fast had this MTP. They're all dedicated to one particular problem. Waze, solving traffic, or Uber, everybody should have a private driver. And it acts as the kind of the North Star, the Simon Sinek question of why do you exist, etc. Big companies have two problems. The first is they typically tend not to be purpose-driven. Their brands are tilting that way more and more. But secondly, there's this old economic theory called Coase's law, written in the 1930s. It's a 9-page paper for which he won the Nobel Prize, this guy called Ronald Coase. And he theorizes that big companies exist because transaction costs are lower inside the company than outside, and that you can achieve economies of scale that way. Okay? And in this book, we declare Coase's law dead, because economies of scale can be applied to an individual now who can scale to a global level, and economies of scale and the controlling factors of big companies prevent you from moving in any kind of an agile way. And so therefore, all the advantages with the single individuals or small teams with a passion. And that's where we think the future will go.
Okay, so I can predict out, and anybody listening to the sound of my voice right now should be aware that I very much have my money where my mouth is. And so my fears are very real. The prediction that I will make is that AI will make things better for the masses in ways we just cannot fathom, and it will be absolutely incredible. But it does not care about the individual at all. And so while the consumer will win, I'll be very interested to see what happens to people building businesses, because they will just come and go. Yeah. They will get disrupted so fast that it will begin to ask a new question of entrepreneurs, which is, can you dedicate your life's energy to something you know will be obliterated in 3 years?
Interesting, like the sand art in India.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, Jesus, that hurts.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's interesting. It's truly letting go. It's non-attachment. So one of the underlying principles of an exponential organization, you and I talked about this when we did our early podcasts on abundance or bold or futures faster.